Welcome back. I am working on the Mustang today, working on the front suspension. If you remember at Holly Ford Fest, I broke the suspension on the passenger side, ripped the welds right off of the upper bracket, and we got it fixed up there and everything is good to go. But I'm taking a look at the driver's side. I pulled the bracket off of the driver's side and there is signs of a crack forming on this guy. So this is only a matter of time before I think this one broke. So we're going to have to look into that. So the reasoning that I think that it's cracked, other than, you know, probably my welds just weren't as good going through this. I only welded the one side. Yeah, there was like a valley here for me to weld into, but I should have welded the back side. I didn't do it initially because I thought there might have been interference with this going around the frame rail, but there's not. So I'm going to weld up the inside if I'm going to keep using this. But yeah, the welds ripped off. The second reason that I believe that it broke is because I recently raised the roll center of the front, which when you do that, it puts more force into the control arm links instead of into the suspension spring portion. And the car handled a lot better. So that's telling me that I need more spring in the front. So you know the deal. I went to Hyper Coils and got some new springs for the front. So I was trying to do a softer setup and like a bigger roll bar. My thoughts were the softer setup would be better over bumps. And one of the courses that I go to does have some washboarding going on and some can get a little bit bumpy. But I am getting a lot of body roll and other things going on with having the softer springs. So we are going to increase the spring rate. So right now I have 400-pound springs on there. We are going to up it to 600. This will give me, it calculated out to be like a frequency of more like 2.0 or 2.1, where the ones on there are 1 something. So it'll be more stiff, more race car. So usually race cars, you want it to be around a natural frequency of 2 to 2.5. So we are going to increase the frequency of the car by increasing the spring rate. And we'll do that front, and then the rear, I'm probably going to put the 300s back in that I had in it earlier. So earlier in the year, I went from the 300 to 250 or 275, one of the two, can't quite remember. Dropped it down to a lower one to better handle those bumps. But now that I'm increasing the front, I'm going to need to increase the rear to match up with it. And I think I'm just going to go with the 300s that I had in there. So I need to get the coilovers pulled out of all 4 corners so we can get the new springs installed. But of course, I'm doing a lot of changes to the car right before the event, so we're going to have to kind of refigure out how the car feels. Hopefully it's going to feel way better. I think how we drove it with the higher roll center will help us feel out the new springs. So see how it goes. As far as the design of this bracket, I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I've started working on a redesign of this instead of trying to modify this one to work. For one, this plate is too far forward. I've kind of maxed out my caster adjustment already. I have no more adjustment that I can move on it. So that's why I've had to start using the lower guitar, moving it forward to get the caster that I want. So just a little mess up on my part, I guess, when I was modeling everything up. So I need to move this plate back. So my caster adjustment, for what I do, it has the upper control arm has these little sleeves in there, so I can move the whole upper control arm forward to back, and that's how I was planning to do my caster adjustment, and then having a backup of doing the rear suspension tube on the lower control arm to move the bottom forward to back. So I've maxed out the adjustment on this. So we need to move this plate back a little bit, and then the second thing that I want to do was try to get this closer to the frame to get me more negative camber. I've already maxed out how much this can move in. The bolts that are in here are touching the frame, so they can't go in anymore. So what the setup that I have right now is I have a bolt that comes in from the back side, and then I have this little bushing sleeve that goes in there and kind of locks it into these different adjustment holes that I have in here. So we're going to change that up. For one, these little bushings aren't made for this, and they are cracking after pretty much the first time being tightened down. They stay in there just fine, but they're not really reusable. I can't make it to where I can adjust this up because they're cracking. I have to replace them. So we're going to change that up a little bit. So what I'm going to do instead to try to get it closer is to decrease that that bolt head. And what I'm going to do is a carriage bolt. So this bolt has this square on there. So what I'm going to do is make this into a square, and then this will come through and lock into that square. So it will be much much shorter. So you can kind of see, you know, yeah, maybe it's only like 1/8 of an inch or something like that, but every little bit counts. And then also be getting rid of the thickness of this sleeve on here. We'll be gaining 1/4 of an inch, so we'll be able to move this guy in. So that's going to be really nice. The other thing that I wanted to do on this bracket was put in like some tab and slots to better capture. So I'm going to make the upper arm just come out a little bit more, and then this plate will have some tabs. This other plate will have some slots, so it'll fit in there, and it will get all welded on both sides of this joint. And then just hopefully that if any crack welds were to fail, which I don't think will happen with having welded on both sides, that tab will help just kind of hold it in a little bit more. Yeah, it's not going to be that as strong enough to, if the welds fail, that it's going to still hold the suspension in, but it will do a little bit better is the plan. I've also designed in this hole that I had to drill and tap beforehand, so these will be in here. This is for the brake line to be held on there. Yep, a little bit of a redesign pieces that I have learned from doing this one. So that will be my version 2. So we'll just need to get that sent off to Send Cut Send, and then get it all welded up together. One other thing that I was thinking of trying to do was instead of having a welded joint was to do a bend. So I had designed it up, but it can't be bent. How this is designed up, the die that would have to be used to bend it just can't be done with, like, you know, how this sticks out. There would be too much deformation in holes and other things. So a welded bracket is what's needed for something this tight. I could have maybe done a score line and bent it, but yeah, welded 3-piece bracket is what is required for this setup. Since I stiffened up the car with the springs, I'm going to do a little bit of a change up to the sway bar. Sway bar is a good little tuning tool to make the car a little more oversteer, understeer, things like that. Sway bars are a thing that you should definitely keep. Don't get rid of sway bars. I have several of them from different cars. So we'll take a look at what I have and what was on the car. I do know that the car will be a little more oversteer with the stiffer front. So we will adjust for that with the sway bar. So let's take a look at what sway bars that I have laying around, and we'll see what I have to choose from. These are the 3 sway bars that I have. So the silver one is the one that was on the car. So that is a Steeda sway bar. It measures out to 35 millimeters. Then we have this one, which is a 30 millimeter. I believe that is from a GT Mustang of this same era. And then this is a 27 millimeter, I believe from a V6 Mustang of this kind of era. So what I'm going to go with for right now, I'm just going to drop down one size to the 30 millimeter and see how the car kind of feels with that. So like I said, sway bars are one of those kind of tuning tools, so you have to kind of mix and match to try to get it figured out for what works best. And then for the rear sway bars, I have two of those. I have a 23 millimeter and a 21 millimeter. So I'm going to change out the 23 millimeter that is currently installed down there and put on the 21 millimeter one for right now to test out. So overall, I am going to be dropping down the front and the rear sway bars down one size to match up with the stiffer springs that we've put onto the car. Hopefully that will make it similar to how I was feeling, you know, balanced, maybe a little oversteer is kind of what I like, but we will get those changed out and we will try them at the next autocross that is coming up here shortly.